Last week we considered the need for attunement with God, with the gurus, with the wisdom of others, until we make that wisdom our own. There is a strong and in fact valid belief nowadays in the need for standing on one's own feet rather than depending weakly on others to carry us by their strength. Swami Kriyananda was once asked, "What is the best yoga posture?" "That one," he replied, "would set you squarely on your own 2 feet." Our strength must come from within. If that strength comes from the ego, however, instead of soul consciousness, it is like a guitar string without its sounding board. The notes it emits will be thin and feeble. Our strength must come from within, but must be completed with recognition of our inner link with broader and higher realities. The Bhagavad Gita in the 10th chapter says, "Everyone in this world whose life is glorious or prosperous or powerful, know that his achievement is but a little spark from the great sun of my effulgence." Effulgence, I always get that wrong. Jesus is talking to his disciples, emphasized also the power of attunement with his own consciousness as a ray of the divine. For this ray has descended already through him in response to their devotion. It was a sign that God was already listening to them with receptive attention and did not require to be wooed in that way any longer. In the passage preceding the one that we read last week, Jesus said, "I am the true vine, and my Father is the husbandman. Every branch in me that beareth not fruit he taketh away, and every branch that beareth fruit he purgeth it, that it may bring forth more fruit. Now ye are clean through the word which I have spoken unto thee. Abide in me, and I in you, as the branch cannot bear fruit of itself, except it abide in the vine. No more can ye except ye abide in me." This was the meaning of Paramahansa Yogananda's counsel also when speaking more intimately to the disciples of the need for attunement with him. Thus, through Holy Scripture, God has spoken to mankind.
Hello everyone, nice to see you. Nice to have you back, Jim. Been a long time. Summer does that. Okay, I'd like to start my part of the service with a poem from Whispers from Eternity by Paramahansa Yogananda. O Divine Mother, the bee of my mind is ever engrossed in thy lotus feet of blue light. It drinks the honey of thy motherly love. This bee will drink no other honey but that which is graced by thy perfume sweetness. O Divine Mother, flying over the gardens of my fancy, denying myself the honey of lesser pleasures, I have found at last the ambrosia buried in thy lotus heart. I have been thy busy bee. I have soared through the fields of many incarnations, breathing the airs of countless experiences. I will roam now no more. Thy fragrance has quenched at last the perfume thirst of my soul. I'm going to have this a little bit on these notes today because I don't want to forget some of these wonderful quotes. And I was thinking this morning, as I was thinking about this topic, self-reliance versus self-reliance, that I remember a couple of days ago I was awakened in the morning by the sun, probably, or maybe a little before the sun. And I noticed outside my window this beautiful palm tree. And it's a big, big palm tree. You can probably see it probably out there somewhere. And it was huge. And I had been seeing it for the last 9 months and hadn't given it a lot of thought, but for some reason that morning I really noticed it and was aware of it. And as I was looking at it, I was thinking, gosh, at one time or another, this tree was a little tiny seed. How can that happen? I just kept thinking about that. It's a tiny little seed. And now it's just so big, I can barely put my head back to see the top of it. The miracle of life. It's absolutely awe-inspiring. And I know through my life, living at Ananda Village up in Nevada City, I've been there for a long time. And especially in the early days, I went to many births. I saw many souls come into this world, and never without tears and just the wonder of how could this be, this tiny, tiny, infinitesimal seed of human life that grows into who we are now, and hopefully even better who we are in our deepest self, knowing who we really are to become. And I asked Ramesha to play this chant, what is this life flowing through my veins? Because that's what I was feeling. What is this life? How can you not think that there's a divine consciousness in this world? What is this life flowing through my veins? Could it be other than divine? You know, in kindness, in power, in love, in divine joy that we all experience at one time or another. How can we not know that there's a divine consciousness in this world? One of my favorite books, besides Swami and Masters, who I put foremost on my list, I hope you read all of them before you read this one, but it's called Conversations with Great Composers. And I've touched on it before, and you know, I was thinking today, Ramesha, you might have talked about this when you gave service, but since I wasn't here and I didn't ask you, I hope I'm not repeating a service you gave, although it probably is worth repeating. But there's this wonderful book called Conversations with Great Composers, and I don't know all the details and when it was written, although I believe it was written in the middle 1800s or late 1800s. It was written by a composer, and he was interviewing great composers of his time and commenting about other composers that had died. And in this particular part I want to talk about, he was talking with Brahms. And I don't know about you, but through my life I was given the great opportunity to listen to classical music, and I loved classical music, and I would play it often. But I would simply play it and rejoice in it and love it, and that was about it. I didn't really study it. I really didn't understand why this was touching my soul so deeply. And it wasn't really until I came to Ananda and heard Swami Kriyananda talk about how to tap into that divine consciousness in so many ways that he does, but especially he would talk about it often through music and how he was able to draw on that divine consciousness to create the music that he does. You heard, some of you maybe for the first time have heard one song, and that's the one that was sung this morning. You'll hear another. But he's written over 400 pieces of music, and every single one of those pieces of music has come from the divine. And he often says, this is not my music. And when he talks about my music or my song, he's really just helping us to understand that he wrote it from the divine. But it's when he gets deeper, he always says, this music is not mine. It's from the divine. So how could you possibly get a composer that can write about the bliss of St. John in one moment, and the monasteries of old, and bringing it into the consciousness of the new, and you just feel that? Or possibly in Romania, the vibration of Dracula, and he does. And the vibration of the Mediterranean, and the vibration of Christ on the cross, and the disciples, and him going into the Gethsemane and the agony that we would feel, and bring that forward so that we could know possibly what it was like in that moment. All those things he would get very clear, and he would know, because God would give him the answer. And in this book, Conversations of Great Composers, Brahms is saying the same thing. And I don't know what it is within us that we love to find other people that corroborate what Master said. But often we'll say, I just read something and it's exactly what Master says. How many times have we done that, or gone to hear somebody, or listened to some music, or why? I don't know why we need that. I don't know why we need more than what Master Swami gives us, but we do. We love it. And I think part of it is because we can say, this is all around us. And oh my gosh, this person has also tuned into this higher consciousness, this higher understanding. And isn't it incredible that when somebody does tune into God and does tune into that higher consciousness, they can feel that too. That's what I feel. Oh my gosh, they can feel it too. So Brahms is saying in his interview with this man, this interviewer is asking him, somebody can help. What's your name that's getting up? What's your name?
Raja.
Hi. Somebody could help her, because I think she needs something that maybe you can help her with. Anyway, what they're asking him is, how do you contact omnipotence, is what he says. But it could be omniscience, it could be the divine, it could be God, but this is what he says. How do you contact that? And his answer is, and he says most people find him very aloof. How can you contact him? How do you do it? And he says, how can you, when you know the divine exists, how can you not ask him for help? How can you not? And so he goes on to talk about his relationship with the divine consciousness. And he tells us that it's not by our power alone, it's not by our willpower, it's not only by our mind, it's by the divine coming into our will, coming into our mind, coming into our thoughts, coming into our asking these questions, that we can perceive what we really, truly want to know. And then he says, to realize that we are one with the Creator is the first step toward creating a great work. It's the first step to realizing that there is a Creator. And then after that, to calling on His grace, on His energy, and then knowing. So what he does, he says, when I get the urge to create a work, and he said, I always want to do it for the betterment of mankind. That's probably part of the reason that comes to him, because it's for more than just himself. So he says, whenever I have the urge to create something, and I call on the divine because I know he's there, he says, straight away the ideas come. Now, doesn't that sound like Swami Kriyananda? Straight away. When you get clear, when you know it's from the divine, when you're asking, straight away, instantly, Swamiji says, that song is there. From the time he has the thought till he gets to the piano to write the notes, is just exactly this. When I feel the urge, I begin by appealing directly to the Maker. Straight away the ideas flow in upon me, directly from God. And not only do I see distinct themes in my mind's eye, but they are clothed in the right notes, in the right forms, in the right harmonies, and the right orchestrations. I don't know, years ago I heard someone tell me that Handel had this vision of the Messiah, and it was all there instantly. All those arias and duets and fabulous orchestrations, and unbelievable. He heard every note. You hear that from Mozart. You hear that from all the great ones. It was there for them. measure by measure, the finished product is revealed. And that's another part of it. It's revealed to us. Then we're not just talking about music here. We're talking about every single thing that we want to do in our life. If we ask the divine to help us, he will be there. She will be there. But it will be revealed to us. Brooke and I were giving a class yesterday in Raja Yoga, and she was talking about you can't create a great thought or create work or even God. You can't create it in your mind. It's revealed to you. And how is it revealed to you? When you open your heart and it comes and you know it's going to be there. He says something else that's really interesting. He says he goes into what he calls a semi-trance. And he explains it first by saying the conscious mind, like Brooke was leading us through, talking about the affirmation and doing the affirmation, loudly bringing it into the conscious mind and slowly, slowly into the subconscious, and then bringing it in here into the superconscious mind. So Brahms is saying he brings it into the conscious mind, and then he slowly tries to bring it into what he first calls subconsciousness. And he says right between those two worlds, he understands. These things are revealed to him. He called it a trance. Later on, very interestingly, he says, subconsciousness is sort of a funny word for this. I don't really think it's subconsciousness. A better word for it is superconsciousness. Isn't that amazing? And perhaps he read the mystics of the day. Perhaps it was revealed to him in those exact words. But then he says, and Master says, that's where you find superconsciousness is right between those two states. And that's where we want to live. That's where we want to be. He says the soul of man is not conscious of the powers until it is enlightened by spirit. So again, everything we do, let's enlighten it by spirit. And then, because this is so appropriate to today's talk, he says, the branch cannot bear fruit of itself except it abide in the vine. So exactly what the reading was today. Except it abide in the vine. The vine, what is the vine? The vine or the trunk or whatever is the tree. It's the life. It's God. And the branches are all of us. And the strong, healthy branches are those of us that know that the vine is feeding us, know that that's where we get our strength from. And when we get a little bit grouchy, maybe we don't have quite the energy, maybe we don't believe in God quite as much as we did yesterday, sometimes that'll happen. What happens to the branch? It starts to wither. Because that strength, that power, that joy, that love is not being connected to the divine. I was reading a story of a Yogananda's last night. And he was talking about this couple that he had met. And he called this the most beautiful couple I had ever met. And then he said, and that's saying something. And it was a young couple. They were newly married. They were in love. And they were exhibiting that. They did feel that love. They did feel that power from the divine. And Master said to them, I'm going to come back here in a year and I'm going to check up on you. And the man said, well, could you pray that I get a job? And he said yes, and he immediately got a job. Very open to Yogananda. So he said, be very careful in your love. Keep it open, keep it alive, and keep tuning into the divine. And he left for a year. And when he came back, he first saw the man. And he looked really tired and discouraged. He said, what happened? And he said, I just don't know. But I want you to come to my house and I want you to, feed you. And so he came to the house. And the girl was there, and she had a baby, and she was pregnant with another baby, and they were both looking really tired. And he was saying, you have to be aware that every moment of the day you can get caught. Every moment, in every moment, in every week, every year, every thought, you can get caught between the higher road and the lower road. And you have to be careful. And the reason I bring this up is, yes, we have to tune into the divine, and this is what can happen if you aren't aware of what can happen when you don't. We don't. I put myself in this very strongly. I've told you before that whenever I have a topic to give, I have to go through a little test. Some of you have heard me say that. Well, of course, it happened again. And so I was up at Ananda Village this week, and it was really wonderful in many ways, but I didn't sleep very much. And that's a different story, but it was mostly around my cat. But I didn't sleep very much. And so I was a little bit dreary, and I sort of lost touch of what was happening here, which was too bad, because by the time I got back, I realized I had forgotten that I had a class, that I had to drive 5 hours that same day, come back, and then, oh yes, Sunday service, and oh, by the way, there's a class this afternoon. And then I woke up sick. I was not well, probably because I hadn't slept, and I haven't been that discouraged for a while. But it wasn't too long. I woke up, I didn't feel well, I remembered all these things that I had to do. I went around and I asked, anybody want to help me? No. Except Brooke. But it was all a setup. It was a perfect setup. And now looking back on it, I know Divine Mother had this in mind for me. And so I called Vidura. I said, Vidura, what am I going to do? And he said, has Master ever let you down? I said, no. He said, you'll be fine. And I got off the phone, and I was perfectly fine, because he reminded me of what's true. And sometimes when you get into those little areas and you do it to yourself, why did I forget all those things? I mean, it was amazing. How could I possibly have set it up that way? Well, God set it up that way so that I could remember. And not only was I completely over it, done, maybe my body wasn't well, but I was fine. I was happy. That what is he going to do to help me? And then it just rolled out so easily. And inwardly, I was thanking everyone that couldn't help. Everyone, of course, wanted to help, but they couldn't. Why couldn't they? Because Master wouldn't let them. It all works together. And in that moment, has Master ever let you down? He won't let us down. When we remember him, I was sort of a mess until I remembered him, and then it was fine. So be very careful in the search. Be very careful in your cockiness of, wow, this is really going great. Because right in that moment, he's going to say, and this too? And this too? So let's remember that. In the hard times and the good times, he's always with us. We just have to remember about that vine and about that strength that's deep within our own selves. God bless you all.
This song is also by Swami Kriyananda from his oratorio, and it's titled Psalm of David. I will lift up mine eyes unto the hills, from whence cometh my help. My help cometh from the Lord, who made
not suffer thy foot to be moved. He that keepeth thee will not slumber. Behold, he that keepeth Israel shall neither slumber nor sleep. The Lord is thy keeper. The Lord is thy shade upon thy right hand. The sun shall not smite thee by day, nor the moon by night. The Lord shall preserve thee from all evil. He shall preserve thy soul. The Lord shall preserve thy going out and thy coming in from this time forth and